What's going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name's Michael Roman, aka Allfires. Now, it's been a reoccurring theme at channels like mine over the last 3 years since his death in Avengers Endgame, when we could possibly see Tony Stark or Iron Man in the MCU again. Either a Robert Downey Jr. multiverse variant or returned from the dead, maybe somewhere else on the timeline, or say something like a Tom Cruise superior Iron Man variant that was never to be in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And while I think there are still a couple of places, and with good reason, to bring him back between now and 3 years away with Avengers Secret Wars, there is one series right around the corner that, drawing directly from the comics, would prominently feature an AI hologram Tony Stark in Ironheart. And today, a crazy photo confirmation of at least one plot device that leaves the door wide open for this to happen. We're discussing the real possibility we might get an RDJ Tony Stark cameo in the upcoming Ironheart series. But first, if you could grab the subscribe button. We do daily Marvel content at the channel, and that's all we do. Everything from official Easter egg breakdowns, trailers, and reviews to the occasional industry insider report and everything in between. So if that sort of thing's for you, hit the sub button, leave a comment down below. That will automatically enter you to win our ongoing PS5 giveaway. If you want, stick around to the end of the video. We'll get into all the giveaway stuff again there. So diving right in, this coming to us today from Atlanta_filming on Instagram. They are a great follow. This photo with the caption, not going to tell you which project this was taken, but it's a project filming in Georgia right now. It's Friday. Enjoy your aneurysms. We all know what project this is for, the upcoming Ironheart series. And while there are a ton of important details that we need to break down in this video, and we will in just a sec, let's go ahead and break down the obvious and why this is so exciting, why he said enjoy your aneurysm. You have a character in Riri Williams who, from the comics, interacted with the Tony Stark holographic AI, now confirmed in the MCU to be getting a piece of Stark Tech holographic hardware. It doesn't get more exciting than that, with the possibility of getting an RDJ return. And yes, while there have been a ton of dampers on this, like the writers on Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness saying bringing back RDJ in a cameo is a basic non-starter at Marvel, let me explain why it sort of feels like now Marvel has been setting this up. And since the Infinity Saga, when we're first introduced to binarily augmented retro framing, or as Tony Stark decides to rename it, BARF, that's during the Massachusetts Institute of Technology presentation at the beginning of Civil War, the same one where he tells the entire student base that he's funding their project. Now, I think there's a real likely chance that we're going to find out who, from the comics, is also an MIT grad, that Riri Williams was in the class, in the audience, that was funded by Tony Stark. And there may be some other connections along the way. In the meantime, though, and in Spider-Man Far From Home, we find out that Quentin Beck actually invented the binarily augmented retro framing system, was insulted that Tony Stark named it BARF or referred to it as a $600 million or so experiment, said that he lacked the vision to see how it could change the world. We also find out that he's advanced the application of the way that Tony Stark used it to create holograms and sort of recreate environments in real time, more like an AI would work. But I think there are many levels of implications here in how they could pull this off, and let me explain. First of which, he wouldn't need BARF technology to have pre-recorded a hologram of himself like the one that he showed his daughter during Avengers Endgame after his passing. He could have re-recorded those at any point, and we know that just like the comics in the beginning of the Infinity Saga, he was using real-life model decoys that could have easily just replaced some bit of his dialogue and isn't actually in AI. And I think also not having Tony Stark AI in the MCU is very, very important for a very simple reason. I mean to say that I think having a pre-recorded message on a piece of tech is very important for her arc, and I'll explain why in a second. But first, the Tony Stark AI problem. If you have Tony Stark back as an AI at any point, and unless there's a limited reason for why he'll exist, basically he needs to be destroyed, then the problem is you always have Tony Stark AI in the MCU, and then you end up having Disney and Marvel paying Robert Downey Jr. money, which is the most expensive, just to be a very expensive voice actor who actually isn't acting at all, rather just doing voiceovers for his holographic self. The whole thing makes no sense. And again, if you have him once, then why would you not just keep him as an AI around all the time like Jarvis, and then basically RDJ is back in the MCU getting paid all this money for every single project? That doesn't really make sense in context of how the universe goes forward, and it doesn't allow other heroes to grow. A pre-recorded message avoids all of that, and because of her arc, which is what I just mentioned a couple of minutes ago, would perfectly parallel what happened with Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark in the MCU when Stumped in Iron Man 2 sees a recording of his father, who he felt like might be talking directly to him in that moment, you could mirror this for Riri Williams by having a pre-recorded message, a pre-recorded something of Tony Stark that in the moment when she needs the inspiration and direction the most, he can sort of feel like he's talking directly to her. So you don't mess with the Tony Stark AI problem. He doesn't have to record a cameo feeling like he's undoing his sacrifice, because it'll literally be a cameo of him pre-recorded. And I wonder, I at least have to just a little bit, if they don't have a ton of extra scenes and footage with him that was never used, that they could somehow refashion this way, and maybe not even have to have him do the work at all, or maybe a slight overdub. But what I think is very obvious here is that while we can theorize all day long about why Iron Man needs to be back in the MCU, and there are good reasons, Marvel, the comics, have always kept multiple versions of the comic book characters around, and because Iron Man is one of their most lucrative IPs. It's kind of weird not to be able to sell any Iron Man merch or Iron Man toys when you don't have one of your most lucrative characters present in your most lucrative franchise, which is the MCU. So there are reasons to bring him back, or a variant, maybe not RDJ, but again, a Tom Cruise superior Iron Man, or maybe even a multiverse version along the way by Secret Wars. In the meantime, and while we can theorize on all of the places he could possibly show up, this one is the most likely. And now that we know that BARF Tech is involved, it seems like if there was ever a chance for us to see RDJ in any way back in some new footage or a cameo for the MCU, this would be it. But guys, let me know all your thoughts down below. Maybe as fans, you're not as excited as some others would to see him back, and especially if it's only in this capacity. It's not Iron Man interacting in a way that, you know, we would want, like an actual return, just a cameo in that kind of way. But regardless, the heartstrings will be there. Let me know all your thoughts down below quickly. Let's jump into the giveaway stuff before I let you go. We're still giving away PlayStation 5s all the way up to 1 million subscribers. The next one's at 980, which we're right around the corner from. If you want to be entered to win for any of the future giveaways, we'll start giving away comics and exclusive variants from our sponsor, slhla.com, here when the watch parties start back up for She-Hulk. But all the same rules will always apply. All you have to do is be a subscriber and then leave a comment on the video, because it's truly random. As long as you're a subscriber, the more videos you comment on, the better chance you have of winning. All winners will be announced at the end of videos, the same way we're doing here. The best way to keep up with the content has always been to hit the notification bell with all notifications turned on. And as always, if you liked today's video, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit the like button. My name's Michael Roman. You can find me over on Instagram and Twitter at IamFires. You can also find me on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, Apple, iTunes under the name AllFires. And while I'd sincerely appreciate you checking my music out, thank you for checking this channel out. Stick around. We're going to be posting again real soon. We're about to get into what's going on with Quantumania, how the entire MCU is going to be rewritten. Absolute bangers on the hip. They're coming in the next couple days. I'll see you guys here at the channel. Peace.